Being in Kenya, it's taught me the secret behind human resilience. I once made and posted this statement on my TikTok. Yes, that's how you can tell I'm a Gen Zer. Yeah, I once saw and posted the statement that I found to be super profound. And I thought that it was true for pretty much everyone. However, I've realized now that the statement has come out of a lot of privilege and just ignorance to what people actually deal with in the real world outside of the US. And so this is what the statement says. It says that most people tend to suffer more in their imagination than they do in reality. And still now, I believe this to be true for much of the Western world. Particularly, I'm just going to speak about the United States because that's where I live and that's where I have experience living and I kind of know the culture. Yeah, and so I find this to be true for a lot of people in the US. But after going on a missions trip to Kenya and going to Africa and being around kids that have been rescued from the slums and will walk miles, like 4 hours to school, to school in the morning, they wake up at 4 a.m. to walk to school 4 hours, get there at 8, go to school, and then they'll walk back home after that because they have no other way. That's what they have to do. And seeing the conditions of the people in the slums and just the situation that these Kenyan people and that these kids are growing up in, it was very clear to me that this statement was flipped. In fact, these people suffer a lot more in reality than they do in their imagination. And that's just a fact. They truly do suffer in reality. But what you find is that the people growing up in these horrible conditions, they're some of the happiest, loving, and caring people you ever meet in your life. And so it got me thinking, how is this possible? How are these people that have truly suffer every day in reality on a great farther extent than what I could ever imagine? Even walking through an encina, I still kind of not imagine the daily life that they have. But they're so much happier. How can our country be so much better, yet their happiness exceeds ours by miles? I mean, we're struggling so bad with mental health, loneliness, all these different things, anxiety. You would think they would struggle with, but they don't. That's what I'm going to talk about into this video. I'm just going to talk about some of the cultural differences that I've noticed, and I think some of the biggest reasons why their culture can be so happy regardless of the struggles and the suffering that they're going through every single day, the struggles in reality that they're going through every single day, compared to us where we don't struggle so much in reality, but we struggle a lot more inside our internal reality, inside our minds. First things first, I just want to touch back up on that statement that I made. Most people tend to suffer more in their imagination than they do in reality. This again is, I think, true for a lot of the Western world, but it is absolutely not true for the Kenyan people and where I was. But what you find is that they're a lot happier in their imagination. They hold on to hope that even though they're living in these bad conditions and they have these small beginnings. I got some letters from them and they would say, even though we're coming from small beginnings, we know we have a bright future. And all these kids who are getting an education, they consider themselves to be blessed. And in all things considered, compared to the brothers and sisters or the kids that they know that aren't in school, they are blessed. And even the people that are back home and those kids who are still living in those situations, what you find is that they still consider themselves blessed no matter what. Because they have their life and because they have people around them, they will consider themselves blessed and they continue to push on. They don't let these mental health get in the way of normal life because it truly is a matter of survival. They don't have time to really feel sorry for themselves. And you can say for better or for worse that we do over here, but it's a matter of survival. They have to do everything they can to survive, which brings me to my next point, is their sense of community. They have one of the strongest senses of community I've ever seen. And especially coming from the US where everything is so individualized and we're so focused on ourselves and our own success. I mean, even in the media, it tells women now you should be a strong, independent woman. It tells men that you should focus on yourself, focus on your grind. It's telling everything that we see is telling us that we should focus on ourselves, that we should build ourselves up. That's the way to happiness, that's the way to success. And that once you build yourself up enough, then you'll be able to attract the right person, then you'll be able to attract the right partner. But that's not always how it goes. And when you get so self-focused, you continue to get detached from the people around you. And also a little bit more sinister thing that is happening is that with our phones and the For You page on TikTok, everything is curated to your beliefs and the things that you like. What's really happening is over here on our phones is that we're all living in our own subspheres of reality. And all of us are viewing the world through our own little lens that has been curated by our For You page and our likes and our desires. And our data is being sold to these different companies. Not to get all conspiracy on you, but it's true. Our data is being sold to all these companies so they can figure out what videos should show us, how to best get our attention, how to best hold our attention, and also how to just subconsciously kind of change our beliefs and our minds. And so we're all viewing the world through this sub-lens of our own reality, our own perspective that has been created with our phone because it's so personalized to us. Our phone is a separate reality in and of itself, absolutely, and it's so specialized to us and so unique to us that whenever we're feeling lonely, whenever we're feeling whatever, we can go into that and we can escape that feeling, but it detaches us from everyone around us. Now, let me start by talking about the Kenyan people and the Kenyan culture to get a little bit of an idea. The school that we went to is a boarding school for students because the place we're at, they just can't walk to. It's not a place that realistically these kids can all walk to. These kids who are from the slums, they're at this school and they're at this boarding school. They don't have phones, they don't have internet. All they have is each other. And that's true for the people in the slums as well. All these people have each other. And even though they're living in horrible situations, they're happy because they're together. And they form true bonds with each other, even though the reality that they're living in is terrible compared to the reality that we live in the United States. They're all living in the same reality together. They're connected, and they're truly connected. Not just living in the same space, but everyone's in their own separate rooms, watching their TVs or on their phones. I mean, they're all living together in reality, talking to each other, writing letters to each other, writing notes. Every single day they worship God together, and whether or not your beliefs of God are one way or the other, they all come together to worship, sing, dance, and praise something other than themselves. And so what you notice is that they don't have a lot of ego over there. They're able to, whatever is best for the group is also best for them. Whether you think that's the proper way to go about life or not, it certainly leads to a lot more happiness and fulfillment, at least in my opinion. And from what I've seen, it's true on a wide scale basis as well. Because when you're so focused on yourself, yeah, you might be accomplishing all your interests. You're doing everything that you want to do. You're achieving whatever success that you want to get, making as much money. When you don't have relationships and people to share that with, what does it mean at the end of the day? And I think that's something that they have figured out is even though they have very little, they still share everything. I'll just use a small example of one of the kids that I made a really good relationship with. I can't share his name, but over there, their currency is shillings in Kenya. Every week, a person will come over and they make little like donuts for the kids, and the kids are able to buy for 10 shillings. 10 shillings is equivalent to about 8 cents in American currency. So they come over, they provide donuts, and the kids can buy the donuts for like 8 cents. Not a lot of kids can buy the donuts. And so the donuts are very special to them. They're something that comes every once a week, but that you might only buy maybe once a month, if that. This kid that I made a close friend, he's a 7th grade boy, by the way. Just from coaching him in different sports, he's just very grateful for the coaching that I've like given to him. So after the devotion night, he wants to give me a gift. And earlier in the week, we had talked about different foods that we liked and donuts. I wasn't even thinking about this at the time. I wait for him outside. Like 2 minutes later, after the devotion night, after everything's closed, he runs out and he brings me a donut. And I mean, we get cooked for us while we're there. Like we're well fed. I'm like, I do not need that donut. I don't want your donut. Like I know how special this is to you. I know how special donuts are to all the kids here. Like I don't feel right taking that donut and eating it. But he was very, very insistent that I take the donut, and that was a gift. And I know he wanted to give me a gift. If he's very insistent, I'm just gonna take the gift and be grateful about it. And I was like, how it made me emotional because this kid has so little. He barely gets to eat. He technically does not eat as much as I do and as well as I do, and he knows that. But because we were talking about how we like donuts earlier in the week, he came in and brought me a donut, even though he needs it a lot more than I do. But he came and brought it to me, and it just shows how giving. And this is not a unique situation. As much as I love this kid, and this kid is an amazing kid, let me tell you, that's not unique to him. It's something that they all do. They're all so sharing, and they're so ready to give up their portion so that the collective group does better as a whole. And you find this with all the teachers. All the teachers at this school, none of them are paid. They're all on a like 24/7 teaching basis because they have to stay at this boarding school with the kids 24/7. Like they are the parents. They're teaching them, doing all the stuff, keeping control of the kids, making sure they're all fed, sleeping, everything. They don't get paid. They're doing this all volunteering, all just to support the kids, and they've gotten university education. They've been lucky enough to do that to where they can start their own lives and start their own future and work for themselves to get out of the situation that they've been in. But what do? They go back to the school and they help these kids to help cultivate the next generation and help give back to their futures and help develop them so that they can have a bright future for themselves. And it just shows how caring and how focused they are on helping each other. View on relationships is so different. Like they actually love each other. And I'm getting kind of emotional right now because it's just like we no longer love each other over here in the US. And yes, like some people do, but on the wide scale, we don't. On the wide scale, we hate each other. And it's so clear why we're having so many mental health issues because, I mean, how could you not when most of the world hates each other? Or not most of the world, most of the US, most of the people that you're around, they despise each other. They'd rather go on their phone and be in their own personal space that is completely unique to them, that no other person can fulfill that because we're all so different. No other person can be that perfect person that your phone is that gives you the perfect stimulus at the right time, at the right moments. No person can fulfill that. And when people don't, then you think that something is wrong with the person. I mean, I've done this too. We all do it. I'm absolutely in this too. Yeah, these people have been through some of the worst conditions and have lived in the worst conditions you could ever imagine. And these horrible circumstances in these environments. Yeah, every once in a while there's someone who is able to like be resilient and make it out of these situations. All of these people are still happy and they're still persevering and they consider themselves again to be blessed. And they're loving and they show this love to other people so easily and they're ready to give whatever they can to others, even though they don't have anything themselves. So how is this possible? Like everything that I've learned in psychology has shown me that this shouldn't be the case, especially on such a wide scale basis. And yes, like from talking to some of their teachers, these kids, they struggle, but they don't let it affect them. And one thing about that is, I mean, honestly, it's a matter of survival for them. Education is their survival in the world. And the other thing is that they continue to love anyways. They continue to love and smile no matter what they're going through and whatever has happened to them. And like they wake up at 4 a.m. to wash their own clothes, do their own laundry, and then they go hang it up outside and let it dry for the day. And that's one thing that they consider themselves blessed about. Like they are excited and happy that they get to do their own laundry. I mean, it's just like, if I had to do that, I'd be pissed. Like I'm like, what? I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. to hand wash my own clothes and hang them up up on a fence to dry. I'm not gonna do that every single day. Like why would I have to do that? But that's something that that they consider themselves blessed about. And even though I have a vast amount more than them, every single one of those kids could count on their fingers or in their mind so many more things that they're blessed about than I ever could. And that was very eye-opening for me, just because I'm like, wow, I am way more blessed than I have ever realized. And all these things that I think are important and that I'm letting ruin my life, they just aren't important. Like they aren't. And they aren't afraid to show love and humility. Another thing, a quick story about that. So Pastor Shadrach, he's the guy who has created this whole vision for the school and has started all of this. He's an inspiration. He has a lot of wisdom and is just a very like strong man and has led this entire community and has formed the school. Like he's done a lot. He's done incredible things. One of the members of my team, his shoe's untied, and Pastor Shadrach, he sees that, he gets down on his knee, right? He gets down on his knee and then starts tying the man's shoe. Like this is a very powerful man that everyone in the community knows and respects, and he's getting down on his knee to tie another man's shoe. Like what? And that just shows the humility and the lack of ego of the Kenyan people. I think this is one of the biggest things, is that because they don't have phones, they have time to think and to write. Their attention. The other thing about our phones and about us is because we try and distract ourselves so much and we're always chasing the next dopamine hit. We're always chasing things external of us to distract us and to hold our attention. We're never thinking just inside our own internal reality, inside our mind. We're no longer spending as much time inside ourselves thinking and also just being able to write and reflect on our day. But this is a very consistent thing that they do every single day. They have time to think and they have time to write. And they write letters to each other, they write letters to us when we're there. They just write and they reflect, and it allows them to process these situations that they're in. It allows them to process any traumatic memories that they have. They can process it and get over it and move forward. Where us, we're stuck on our phones and we're stuck on trying to find external stimulus to distract us. That a minor thing, a minor traumatic event that should have been easily processed very long ago never gets processed because we're so busy distracting ourselves from it. And we're so busy distracting ourselves from feeling proper sadness and anger that comes along with that traumatic memory. And instead of getting it out by just feeling it, thinking it, writing about it, reflecting, talking to someone, we distract ourselves, so we never end up processing that traumatic memory. And those things build up over time. And once they build up to a certain level, that's when they explode and they become intolerable. Yeah, intolerable. They also just love to learn. That's another thing. And quite frankly, because we don't have a lot of kids nowadays, they don't have the need to learn. I mean, they have everything on their phones. Like, what do they need to learn? What can we teach them that they don't have access to immediately? And so learning is not as important in the United States anymore for many kids as it is to kids in Kenya, who learning is the only way to survive, essentially. When you go into these schools, I'm just gonna say this flat, capital punishment in these schools is completely okay, right? The teacher can hit, like, spank, do whatever to the kid. And a lot of people might be like, whoa, that's crazy. And in the US, absolutely, that is crazy. Like, teachers can't do that. But over there, it's okay. And I'm gonna explain a few reasons why that's true. And people can still throw up their arms saying, you should never hit a kid, you should never do this, you should never. Okay, we're not talking about that for right now. We're just gonna talk about the facts. Capital punishment over there is okay. But what you have to realize before you get angry at the teachers, because it's a normal thing, right? First of all, these teachers are giving up their lives to educate these kids. Like I said, these teachers are not paid. They're doing a 24/7, a 24-hour day job where they're watching over these kids, making sure they're getting all their cares met. In one slum that we walked through, South B, this slum has about 500,000 people, and there's a school, South B, that's inside of the slum. There's about 600 students, 1st to 6th grade. I might be wrong on that number. I believe it's about 600 though. All in this tiny crammed building, right? Having 600 of these 1st to 6th grade students is a very difficult job to keep them under control and like their attention and to be able to educate them properly. So the teachers, there's a very short staff. There was maybe like 18 teachers for these 600, and there was the one head teacher, pretty much the principal, who runs the entire school, and they had to keep it in control. And these teachers are the parents of these kids. They are watching over their livelihood. They are doing everything to support these kids and to educate these kids, and the most important thing in their world is education, because education is the only thing that's going to allow them to live a life that brings them to a place where they can get out of the slums, where they can make a life for themselves. I mean, truly, that's education is at the base of everything. Like, they have to become educated. That's the only way that they're going to make it out. And even then, they still have to be lucky enough to have a sponsor that'll help pay for their university education. But the education is the only way out. And so they really care about these kids, and to keep them in order, they have to be harsh. I mean, they do. They have to get them under control. They have to get them all paying attention, because it not only affects them, but it also affects all the other students. But what you notice is that they give very clear and consistent instruction. The kids know exactly from as soon as they enter that building, the kids know what is expected of them, they know the behavior that's expected of them, and they know what to do. It's actually truly a lot better for the kids because it sets the expectation early, and they aren't getting inconsistent directions. One teacher who's punishing you for acting out this way, but then another teacher who's like, oh no, Jimmy, that's okay, what's wrong? I have actually a very important quote, which may not seem related at first, but it actually is very related to this exact circumstance. I'll take this from The Art of War. Yeah, just a very classic book with like very important philosophy on life and war, essentially. Anyways, so this comes from chapter 9. I'm gonna show it right here, and I'm gonna read it. It's what I have highlighted. So it says, consistent and effective orders inspire obedience. Inconsistent and ineffective orders provoke disobedience. When orders are consistent and effective, general and troops enjoy mutual trust. So this is important. And I'm going to replace two words here. I'm going to replace general with teachers and troops with students. Orders are consistent. It inspires trust and obedience. And the first thing, trust, is very important, because unclear and inconsistent orders, when you say one thing and you reward that one time and then you punish it the next time, that creates an ambivalence, and then you have no kid doesn't know what is right and wrong, and they're constantly guessing and trying to like read your mood and trying to get the vibe of the situation to make the right decision, and oftentimes they might end up making the wrong one. But if we know and are consistent on what is expected of us, it creates that trust and makes it a lot easier to follow through with those instructions. Now, this is also true on a very wide scope basis in the United States. When you look at our phones, you look on social media, when we're a lot of us struggle with our career path and what we want to do in life. And a large part of that is because everything around us, everything external to us on our phones, media, it's all telling us what we should do, what is the right path. Like, oh, you gotta grind, you gotta do this, you gotta be in the gym for 24 hours a day, you know, like all this crazy stuff saying what you need to do and how that's gonna make you happy. But we're getting a bunch of different things. What you're seeing on every side, it's because it's so polarized, is that every side, they don't work together. So you're getting told over here what you need to do to be successful, then you're getting told over here what you need to do to be successful, and it's just stressing us out, and there's not one clear direction of how to make yourself happy. And also, everyone is different and has their own path. Over there, they educate them. They're all just focused on getting an education so that they even have a chance of a future, and they're just focused on the moment. They're not focused on these big picture things that the media is telling you should be worried about, that you should be focused on. They're just focused on their studies in the moment, focused on learning, focused on playing, focused on just being with people that they're with, because that's all that matters at that moment. And also, one other thing is that they love to play. They love playing. They love just like playing sports, like going out kicking the ball. Just they love to play. They find so much joy and happiness in that. But because we're so protective in the United States, you see that kids are no longer really playing anymore. What they do for play is they go on their phone. They're not playing with each other. They're not like, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't seen a school recess, but I can guess the elementary school recess does not look anything like it looks like when I was a kid. When we would go out and play Foursquare, or like play football with your friends, or ride imaginary dirt bikes like on these trails. I'm sure some places are, but a lot of times these kids, they're playing is just games on their phone. they're not actually playing anymore, which is very important to childhood development. And we're also protecting our kids because we're so worried of everyone around us now. We're overprotective in the real world and underprotective online, to the point where kids are no longer able to go outside and play anymore. I mean, it's just a fact. Like, you're scared. If I was a parent now, because of the conditioning of everything around us and because of what we see on the news, we're scared to let our kids go out and play and go to the neighbor's house and go play with our kids and trust that those parents would take good care of our kid. But back in the day, that was normal. Now it's frowned upon and it's considered dangerous to let our kids play. Yet in the Kenyan culture, playing is very important, and that's what they do. And I mean, this goes as far into, like, that's why in therapy there's a new therapy called play therapy, because play is just important to development of, like, imagination, curiosity. It's so important to the development of the kid for so many reasons. And when we no longer let our kids play, we harm their development greatly. They love their families. I mean, overwhelmingly, every single kid loves their family. No matter what, they just love each other. And in the US, you find that we have more broken families than ever, which is just another fact. Religion and community is very important over there, and religion is growing greatly in Africa. But when you think of the US, religion and community, those things are declining, and also with it, mental health is rising. So it just shows there definitely is a connection between those two things. And whether you believe in God or not, whatever religion you believe in, the one thing that religion does form is it also helps form a community. It helps form a community where you're praising and worshiping something that is outside of just yourself and outside of you. It helps remove the ego from the situation. And in the case of Christianity, you're praising God and you're thanking him for your life and the countless blessings that he's provided you. And so it's not just all about you. It isn't about them, and that's what they realize. And I think that's the key that helps you become a lot happier, is when you realize it's not just about you. It helps you find meaning in life, because then you can finally begin to see that true meaning is found in other people and in your relationships with those other people. And so whether it's out of necessity or whatever, the fact they work together is also one of the strongest things that brings them together and allows them to have so much happiness in the face of all the suffering that they're going through. So when you look at the secret in the truth behind human resilience, you find that it's in other people. It's not just in yourself. Yes, you can have resilience in yourself and you can be resilient and overcome any situation. None of that matters unless it's through relationships with other people. Through relationships with other people, that is what gives you strength. And even the people who seemingly have come up and made it, who've been resilient and have made it all by themselves, they've had one person, whoever it was, that loved them and supported them and allowed them the opportunity and gave them the confidence to step up and become resilient. I don't know if that last part makes sense. Yeah, the truth of human resilience is in other people. It's not in yourself. That is it. Thank you for watching, and if you would like and subscribe. And also, if you made it this far, thank you. This channel is gonna allow me to start doing my own philanthropy projects, and specifically about this Kenyan mission trip that I was just on. The first thing I want to do is sponsor 2 kids, which is about $800 each, and so I'm gonna be able to do that working and making my own money right now. But however well this channel does, however well these videos do, is gonna allow me to start doing bigger philanthropic projects. And the first projects is obviously gonna be given back to the school that I was just at in Kenya. Yeah, so if you want to support that, then like and subscribe. Thank you for watching the video, and that is it. Let me know what you want me to talk about next if you have any ideas.